Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today we're going to hide in the shade to get out of the sun. Now today we're going to energize our boar pasture because we're ready to do that. So let me show you what we've got going on. Okay, so what we're doing, this is our brooder building, which is right here in front of the workshop. This is what I consider the front of the property. It's where all my power is. Here's my new power line that I ran buried to the brooder house so we can obviously have heated lights in there. So what I decided to do is I'm going to energize the boar pasture, which is probably about 300 yards that way up the valley, with this Patriot charger. It's a 110. Decided to go ahead and go with that so I can plug it in right here at the brooder house. But what I'm doing is I'm running my wire over here. This is my existing fence line. The bottom line is my existing fence line of our pasture for this side. This would be the north pasture right in front of the house. So kind of doing like a phone line or something, just running another electric line higher up, completely independent. All we're doing is using the same posts. You can see I've got it anywhere from chest height to about 6 foot all the way up the valley. And then I'm just going to cross my road and electrify the boar pasture that way. So this will keep, the reason I'm putting it so high, of course, is keep it independent of this pasture because I don't electrify this pasture very often. It keeps it high so I don't have to worry about grass growing up against this one down on the bottom. I'm constantly worrying about that until I get pigs on here. And the only thing that's going to be a real problem is this is going to be right at nose height, chest height for the deer as they go blasting through. So we'll see how my insulators get torn up. But using 14 gauge wire, putting a little bit of tension on it so at least be taut and stretching along. So I've set my 3 ground posts. Ground post number 1, ground post number 2, and then ground post number 3. And they're at least 10 feet apart. That's the game plan. And I'm trying some shielded, I had a huge old extension cord that had some frayed spots in it. So I'm trying some 10 gauge twisted wire for ground. So ground wire recommendations are 12 or 10 gauge, and this I believe is 12 gauge braided. So we'll see how that works. It's copper and not galvanized, so it should be a much better conductor versus a 10 gauge galvanized. So we'll just see how that is. We're going to get the tester and do some tests first, get a baseline on the Energizer, and then test as we start to hook all this stuff up. That way we can see how much we drop once we get all the way up to the boar pasture. All right, so what we're doing here is, this is what I've always done as far as a test goes, getting a baseline. Are we ticking? Yeah, it's ticking. It's quiet. So get a baseline. So I take my digital voltmeter and I go ground to hot and see what my reading is. So that's giving me a 9.6 kilovolts. So I know that's the best that this Energizer will do with my specific meter here. So that is my baseline. And now we'll start hooking things up and test from there. All right, so kind of got this hooked up, not the way I originally wanted. I was experimenting with coax shielded cable. That way it could be ground contact and I could run my hot down along the ground along my ground wire. That way I don't have to have this stretch over here when I go to weed eat. But it's crazy. Cam and I were noticing when we energized that, you couldn't see a specific arc somewhere, but you could hear it ticking, and it would actually make the grass blades draw in against the insulation. So I guess since this RG6 or RG29, I'm not sure what this is got that shielded outer layer, it must have been getting electrified as well and causing electromagnetic field there or something. I don't know why it was making the grass move, but in different spots it was just drawing it in. So that was a punt. Looked idea, hopefully it worked on paper. So now we've got this death trap here stretched across. Fortunately, other than coming back here to weed eat, I don't do anything here. But this will be something I'll have to unplug to cross under. I at least mounted it here above my head so I wouldn't get shocked coming to check on the Energizer. But I need a taller pole here. But let's check and see what we're getting now that we're hooked up. So this is electrifying all the way up. And it's actually laying on the ground all the way up the boar pasture. So I'm getting, yeah, 9.0. So we're still in really good shape. So we're going to now unplug it and mosey up. And I'll show you how we're going to cross the road up at the boar pasture so we can get electrified so I can still be able to use my road.
Is that okay?
That needs to be okay. Here, what you're going to do, go ahead and set the pin on that pin. I'll run that through. What you do is take that back through again, just like you did the first time.
What as tight as I can?
Yeah, you gotta lift it up so it goes over that, goes into the pin slot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. You're flying! We're the king of the world! You can't stay on the stinking hill. Now we need to stretch some more. It's like the redneck phone company around here. Okay, so our line coming up the valley, way down there. Now let's see if we can give some, over Kelly's shoulder is the house. You can see the house there. So of course the barn is almost directly down from the house. So that's how far the wire's coming up through the trees. We got to this insulator, go up another, looks like another 4 feet, as far as Kelly could stretch there and on my tailgate, and then stretched it across to the board there on that oak, down to the oak and tied into the fence where you see the white poles here. So that will electrify the fence, and that should give me enough height. I don't know if you can see that wire showing up. Should give me enough height that I can pass under this with anything that I have vehicle-wise without any issues. Now, obviously, if I bring a dozer in here or whatever, I got to remember that and get under it. But tractor will definitely, the ROPS won't catch on it, so that has it high enough. You know, down trees, that's the only thing I have to worry about. Okay, as soon as Timber starts peeing, he'll be our test subject here. So pretend he is a boar. He's going to walk right under the bridge, isn't he? Timber! So what we did is, this looks so weird, but there is a method to my madness. So we put some slabs here, and the electric stops there, coming down to our corral. Here he goes. So he's deciding, do I cross the bridge or not? I'm going to stay here and chew on the stick. But stopping the electric, again, they're already going to be apprehensive to cross this bridge. I still got to do some backfill area there. So I don't want to have the apprehension of the electric wire. There he goes. With the apprehension of the bridge. So stopping the electric there hopefully gives them the opportunity to not be afraid of this area as much. Now again, all of this is a psychological barrier. They could knock this slab pile over in no time because it's just not built as sturdy as it should be. But we're going to test, again, we don't even know if they're going to cross this bridge, so we're going to test that and see. They do, then and obviously we'll document it. But I got my gaps filled up, put some electric over there in that gap. We actually had high water the other night and didn't cause that to go out. So that's going to work. I still have to figure out what we're going to do under the bridge. So now's the time to test it. Okay, so now time for the moment of truth. This is the far end. Now this fence does not make a loop. The attachment point is that big oak tree right there. Energizes this whole leg all the way up and around and then down to here. So let's see what we're getting here. So we're getting 7.5, which we know we could get, what, 9.5. So doing pretty good. There's some places that the grass is tall in some areas, and I need to walk the top line and see. So yeah, here on the front leg getting 7.71, which makes sense. That means obviously I've got some obstructions there. Probably some tall grass. I know there in that clearing there's some pretty tall grass we had to come down. So we finished up with the boar pasture that's way that way, past those trees. And you can see there's, I don't know if this will bleach out, but there's nice blue sky there. But it's just in time. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. But that's coming down out of the north, which is weird. I don't like it when they come that way. So we finished up just in time. Plan will next to be move the pigs, the boars, so that'll be fun. We'll try about sorting those out and see what we can do. Got 3 boars to separate. Now I do want to make a quick comment for those of you, I know some of you are probably typing right now and wondering, hey Troy, why didn't you use a battery 12-volt system, that type of thing, solar charger, blah, 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 blah. We did a video a couple months ago actually talking about that, how I really kind of vetted all the different things, different options, and going with a 110-volt down beside our workshop made the most sense right now. Really, it was an economical decision. Quite frankly, the 110-volt chargers all I had to buy with the solar packet, all those other things, your batteries, the self-contained packets are more expensive, less joule output for the same price, that type of stuff. So that made the most sense. You know, the additional expense I had was in running all that extra 14-gauge wire, but yeah, that stuff's cheap compared to all the other accessories I'd need to try those other units. But as we expand, we'll probably eventually get into something like that because I'm not ready to be able to run electricity all the way up the center of my valley. So, all right, well, appreciate everybody watching. This heat has caused me to melt. I think I'd like to think I'm about 10 pounds lighter, but I don't think that's the case. But my shoes are completely full of water, and I think it's from sweat, not from standing in the creek. All right, take care, everybody.
I believe in being ready. Oh, believe in being ready. I believe in being ready. For the time is drawing near. Oh, sinners, do get ready. Oh, sinners, do get ready. Oh, sinners, do get ready. For the time is drawing